Welcome back to the North American LCS. There's more games coming right up, but first, I've got Freak with me to update his ADC tier list as we continue to advance through the summer split. Now, some things have changed, some things have stayed the same. Most notably, Sneaky still sitting atop the table.
Right, so just to recap, we're talking about this split. So the first 4 weeks here, didn't look at Friday's games to help kind of entertain this one.
Okay.
And overall, it was hard for me to find a number one because no one is dominating in all categories. But Sneaky was the best all around. He's the leader and player of the games. He's the first in CSD at 15. As far as 5, 10, and 20, he's also like top 4 there as well.
Okay.
Great damage share, great damage per gold. He is doing very well in all categories. Gets the number 1 spot.
All right, so statistically speaking, he's doing well in most categories, and then from the eye test, seems to be supporting his team and stepping up
most player of the game, so he's
where
doing it.
need be. So there you have it. Next up, Cody's son. Let's talk about him as he's at the top of the B tier.
Yeah, I know a lot of people want him to be number 1. I just don't see it. Honestly, he's a very good player, obviously. I ranked him as number 4 right here, but the thing is he's got some misgivings. First of all, his laning is average. He's got as many leads as negatives here. It's you know, kind of whatever. He got the most CS at the end of the game. He's been given farm, but he's not doing a ton with it. He's slightly above average damage share-wise. The big telling thing is his laning CS numbers are average, but his gold difference is massive because it's Ole and Xmithy who are ganking the lane, getting him kills, and he's kind of riding the wave, it feels like.
I was going to say, there's also always the problem when you're looking at a player on the number 1 team in a league around how much are they responsible for the wins versus being carried and or benefiting from the rest of the team.
Right, and I think he's good, but I think it's his team doing more of the work.
All right, and then we move on to somebody who would normally be found at the top of the list in Double It, sitting at the bottom of the B tier, coming back in this summer split, still trying to find his footing.
Right, and even by his own admission, I don't think Double It thinks he's the best right now either. Now, he's got sick laning stats. He's second only to Apollo. Yes, Apollo's the best laner in NA right now as far as bot lane stats are concerned. Double It, though, a great laner, but his damage is actually really, really bad. He's somewhat like 7th or 8th in damage share right now, and even in damage share per gold share and damage per gold, it's not all that high either. So he's laning well, but he is not team fighting well right now. It's actually Bjergsen, Hanser, and those guys that are doing the heavy lifting everywhere else. So he's a middle-of-the-pack player as a result.
I mean, we saw yesterday they took a loss to C9, and I guess if Doublelift were, you know, back into form, we would see the dominance out of TSM that we might expect. So still waiting for him to fully turn on. Let's move now to Arrow. He has increased in ranking here, but still sits in the C tier for the MVP of last split.
Yeah, and he's still having a middling performance. It's actually the kind of the opposite of Doublelift. They're almost the same player, but on opposite sides. Arrow is like the worst laner in League of Legends. It actually got worse with Xpecial. If you look at like the last 3 matches, it's like actually abysmal alongside him. Now,
but he's a team fighting god.
But he's the sickest team fighter, right? He's the second in damage share of all bot laners, second to, I believe it's Piglet. He's first in damage per gold because he's getting no gold and still doing plenty of damage. So. But the thing is, he's getting catastrophically blasted in lane, and that's gonna hurt him a lot because Phoenix One are not winning a lot of games. A lot of that is lack of lane pressure.
I will say it's fascinating to watch him in team fights. He does seem to get the maximum amount of damage out possible while remaining alive. Finally, I want to talk about Laud. He's at the bottom of the table here on Dignitas, which is a team that is in the top half of the standing.
Right, and by contrast, Altec is actually up there in C tier as a more average player.
Right.
Yeah, Laud, and I probably overrated him in the very beginning here when it was the first couple of matches, but Laud is dead last in laning, dead last in damage share, almost dead last in damage per gold. Like, this guy is actually poor in almost every match you can come up with. That said, he's usually dying somewhat infrequently. He's kind of trying to let himself get carried, but he's losing lane and he's not getting much done in team fights. Had a couple player of the game, so he's got some variance. And that's why he was kind of up there before, because he had done some good things early on in the split compared to like Keith and Arrow, who were dumpster fires at the very start. But Laud is just like kind of deplorable everywhere. And
has had some standout performances, but not enough to mask the inconsistencies that we see from him in every other game.
Right, his averages are the worst of the league.
All right, well, that's all we've got in terms of ADC updates for today, but be sure to let us know what you think of Freak's List by tweeting at LOL Esports with the hashtag NALCS. Now for some more League of Legends action, though, let's hand it back to the casters for the games.
Well, welcome back to round 2 of FlyQuest versus Team Dignitas. That is fancy.
That's very fancy. I'm enjoying it.
I like it. Well, we're going to have to talk about player of the game. It is Wild Turtle, actually, for, you know, doing Turtle things, but actually having them look good and his team behind him.
And tier list be damned.
Exactly.
Freak was wrong. One game, you know, there you go. Results-based analysis, Wild Turtle's now the best.
Well, after one game, looking great. Well, on the tier list, apparently such a heavy burn there into Laud that he subbed out this game. Altec will actually be joining Dignitas on stage for at least game number 2. So we'll see how he gets set up. And it is, like you mentioned, kind of an interesting thing for Dig. Seems like they are trying to get it all together. As you can see, an early split comparison here between Altec and Laud. Not many games for Altec this season so far, but he's looked about where he was in last split, maybe even a little bit better.
Yeah, and he was solid for FlyQuest,
Yeah.
right? And he is putting out quite a bit more damage just by the numbers. There are some issues with looking only at the stats, though, because it can be very skewed based on champion pool, based on the comps that you're playing against, right? For example, if you were playing a Caitlyn against a team that has a lot of kind of like low threat frontliners, you're going to be able to shoot them the whole time. You're going to have very high DPM. And if you're playing someone like Callista against multiple assassins, well, it's very hard to actually get in there and deal the damage. So you have to keep that in mind. But that being said, a lot has not been having the best season, obviously, and Altec was pretty solid for FlyQuest, so they're hoping that that can give them some more consistency in the bot lane, swapping him in, but they're obviously not 100% confident with either one of them because they are still moving it back and forth, trying to figure out where they want to land.
Yeah, and I think even if you just look at recency, again, only one game, but last game Lod was certainly struggling. A lot of picks. I mean, when you get flanked and killed by the effectively full tank Elise, like things are going wrong. Lod did get caught a number of times, and that did make the Dignitas 1-3-1 plan very difficult to enact.
It does, and is that the fault of the player or is that the fault of the pick? That's a question that has to be answered. And in my mind, a lot of that was more the fault of their picks because Jhin is not a safe wave clear style champion, and when you're going to be the 3-man squad that's getting hard engaged on, if you're playing something that has more safety, that has more ability to kind of wave clear consistently from further back, maybe that doesn't become an issue in the first place. But that's neither here nor there as we are into game number 2. And we're going to find out if FlyQuest can pick up their second win of the season.
Well, we'll see what changes here in the draft. At least Fiora and Galio banned by FlyQuest. So on the blue side, getting them top lane picks out of the way. Zach, Caitlyn, and not Galio, I guess, because it was banned by FlyQuest. There's Kassadin, though, banned again on the blue side here. This time taken away from Keen. LeBlanc is the last pick. Dignitas, despite losing on it, still respecting the power of the champion. And surprise, surprise, first pick Elise.
Yeah, first pick Elise does go over, but you're playing against a very good Lee Sin player, so I never feel like it's as big of a deal personally. That is why we've seen a lot of teams, while this is pretty common, we've seen a lot of teams also focus on things like Gragas that can be a flex, and you can kind of adjust your draft accordingly. Because you could grab Gragas, put him top or jungle, and if you don't like that matchup, then you can obviously just grab one of the other junglers.
Well, we'll see exactly what Dig want to go for. There is Lee Sin for Shrimp, and might even steal away the Triss. I actually don't mind this at all for Dignitas. Was very effective for Wild Turtle. I think it's generally a good pick, so gonna take that one away with Caitlyn banned again. Poor man's Caitlyn was my description of Triss last game, so gonna get it here.
Yeah, and Triss is going to be rising in popularity, it feels like. Works so well with the new build, with the IE plus Shiv rapid fire cannon. When you hit that 3-item spike, you are ridiculously strong. Has extremely strong scaling to late game. And while you can compare teamfight wise, it does kind of similar things. You're relatively safe. You have a kind of a gap closer to be able to jump away and keep yourself safe. But it's very different in the lane, right? Tristana is not a bully AD carry. You lose lane to a lot of different champions, and it's more about sieging, it's more about pushing rather than it is about harassing your opponents. And that's something that Caitlyn kind of excels at, where Tristana does not.
And I do like it, especially with Brom, so I like that FlyQuest are taking it here. I think it makes sense for total playstyle. It's a very stable champion for elimination to have, and looks like they actually are going to set up something similar here. First 3 picks are going to be the exact same here in Game 2 for FlyQuest, and we'll see exactly where Dig are going with their next phase of the draft as Morgana again for Big will round out that duo lane.
We do not have parity among the picks, so the mid lane was already picked here from FlyQuest. They're going to be very likely banning some of the bad matchups for Orianna, things like perhaps the Lucian and the Syndra could be getting banned in this next phase, whereas Dignitas likely will look for their advantage through AD carry bans. If you target some of the stronger AD carries that Wild Turtle could use in conjunction with the Braum, maybe you can kind of get that 2v2 advantage by taking things out like the Varus and the Ashe, for example.
Yep, I think Dignitas smartly banning bot laners here, but I'm very curious to see which mid laners, if any, FlyQuest ban away. There's actually a Shen ban, so continuing to target Someday. That's 3 top lane bans already on the FlyQuest side.
Yeah, and they can continue to go down that route. I am a little bit surprised that they're not going to be targeting some of the picks for mid lane, but they may not be worried about Keen playing them. You sometimes can have that experience and not feel that they play the counter picks well enough, or that they don't really have them in their wheelhouse. We'll see if Keen is going to be able to prove High wrong, or if he even wants to run something like that. Because that being said, their composition is not set up super well to run something like a Lucian mid, because if you do lock that in now, you're almost all physical damage. Morgana, while AP is not a significant damage source with the types of builds that people go in pro play, so then you would need an AP top laner like something along the lines of Rumble. So FlyQuest could even target something like that, and And I think that's more what their idea is here. You ban out the Syndra and you say, hey, I don't actually care if you play Lucian mid, because that will make your composition pretty poor.
Yep, so kind of two different solo lane bans there for FlyQuest, Kalista ban for Dig though.
One other thing that's pretty cool about this is you could actually pick away the opposite side of the part, right? So if you say, okay, well, Rumble works well if you play it in conjunction with Lucian, and this isn't actually going to happen, then FlyQuest could have stolen away the other half of that and kind of ruined their comp. So I think that the FlyQuest pick ban is actually super intelligent the more I think about it.
Yep, and there's Talia actually for Dig. So again, another decent matchup for Keen there in the mid lane. Not a counter strictly, but Talia is so strong early. A lot of players tend to like it into Orianna because Orianna doesn't do a whole lot early on in a 1v1. It's kind of a matter of where FlyQuest's going. Flash a Twitch quickly there for Turtle, which would make some sense in the style of comp they're building, but a blind pick top laner is required, and the answer is almost always Renekton.
Yeah, Renekton just really does not have a lot of bad matchups. Like, the only ones that can be pretty tough for him are not really things that are seen in pro play, you know, things that are much more risky, right? So we're not likely to see that. There are obviously answers. We are going to see a hyper carry here for Turtle. Something that works very well in conjunction with Braum here too, because you have so much attack speed with that W pop, you can almost instantly proc the Braum passive, land that stun, and that can be a pretty powerful duo. The question now is, what does Dignitas run in the top lane? Do they just go back to a tank, you know, something like Gragas, and just kind of live through that lane, or are they going to play something more aggressive? They're going for a Rumble.
They actually are going for Rumble, so damage profile's a little curious here, but last pick for Someday is more of an aggressive laner, and that's that counter pick choice into Renekton. Always feels scary to me to play any somewhat squishy top laner into at least Renekton or least in Renekton, but Dignitas probably confident they can manage that. Shrimp and Sunday's 2v2 has looked very good on that side of the map.
And you'll always have to be aware of the fact that Keen can have the push advantage and roam up top with that level 6 on Talia, so that's definitely something that they could be looking to exploit as well. It's also, you're in this position now with Dignitas where you have no real front line. And they're running this composition that is going to be very fragile. If they can get ahead, it can look very strong. But if you get behind against something like this, like, it's so easy to find the initiation. You know, with the Orianna, you have the Orianna plus the Renekton Braum frontline. Like, that is a very beefy frontline. If they can keep the Kog'Maw protected, that can be very powerful. But you know, Kog'Maw can be vulnerable to dive here too. When you layer in the Rumble ultimate, when you dive in with the Lee Sin, so we'll see which team is going to be able to kind of better pull this off.
I would say in general, I like that FlyQuest are kind of going back to basics here, picking much more standard, picking very straightforward team comps that they feel that they can succeed with. I feel like kind of the opposite is true for Dignitas. Their individual talent seems so high, but this feels like another kind of wonky patched together team. I think their last draft had a little more cohesion, and that still maybe had some holes in it. Talia Rumble Lee Sin is a bit of a weird one, but I mean, the picks are strong enough that if especially they can get an advantage in the mid game, should be able to snowball from there, but doesn't feel as cohesive to me.
I agree, and I felt the same way kind of about the draft in the first game, where it feels like they're more saying, oh, I like this matchup. Oh, well, I like this matchup too. Okay, great. Oh, what does our team do? Oh, okay. That's unfortunate, you know?
Yep.
But you can make that work. It's just more of, it feels like a win lane, win game type of team. That being said, you know, you have so many threats that they can team fight, and the fact that Wild Turtle is on a low mobility AD carry can make him pretty vulnerable. You know, you can just try to threaten the dive because they don't have that much consistent DPS if Turtle is kind of shoved out of the
Yeah,
fight.
I wonder if we'll see quite as many flashes forward from Turtle this game.
Probably not.
Probably not. I certainly hope not, but
Get really fed.
I've been surprised before as FlyQuest actually invading here.
Oh, this is actually really smart. Dignitas has not spotted this invade. They're going to wrap around from behind.
Down Shrimp again.
Oh.
Forced to take safeguard level 1, so it does hop to a ward. Used his own trinket there too.
Might have been fine, but he didn't want to risk it at all. Obviously, not ideal to be starting safeguard, but he will still be able to clear. Gonna need a leash probably though. Start one of his own buffs, and that will be able to make it pretty okay.
It looks like maybe another blue Gromp start there for Shrimp. And Moon's going to mix it up here on the right-hand side of the map.
And another little thing, this is why people say you do not level up a skill until you actually need to. So don't just walk out on the map and automatically level up your Q. You can reactively level them up for things like invades, or if you see a great opportunity to see someone at level 1 and kill them. That's why the pro players do that, and that's something that you can utilize in your games here too. But we're going to see the kind of super leash Moon is going to be starting up on the Little Raptors, and the red buff's already being leashed for him. Then he can go back and kill off the big Raptor there. This is going to give him a very accelerated start. They know Shrimp is already going to be behind the pace a little bit because he had to start W. So Moon should be off to the races a bit faster.
Dignitas do have a ward there, though, so they know the opening of Moon's play, and I think you pretty much can see that he's going towards the left-hand side of the map. So should have a good idea of what's going on. So see if Moon can find a surprising gank angle, or if he just even wants to keep farming things out and just take the lead that he's already got.
Yeah, you can even look to kind of try to shove in top lane very heavily. And if you can make that reset, you can look to threaten ganks very easily here, get some control on the top side, take out the scuttle. But Shrimp is clearing towards top side as well, so certainly something that can be matched.
Definitely invade there also, but Moon stops by for the scuttle crab, so looks like he's just going to play it safe and go for maybe fast level 4. That's kind of the other option here. He gets it super speedily. Might be able to just brute force a gank with the experience and buff advantage that he has coming out of the jungle. So it's been great to see so many different efficient jungle paths kind of being discovered, and players and teams are finally starting to fully utilize them.
And I think it's very smart, right? Because a lot of pro players play so heavily around timings, knowing that at X time, the player can arrive in your lane, so you ward at this time, you play defensively at this time. But when you do these leashes, when you throw off those timings, it makes people question it. You don't have to do it every time to put it in their mind, right? It's the same principle that CLG kind of has with some of their crazy level 1s, where they're not going to do a crazy level 1 every game, but if they do it every once in a while, you always have to be worried that they could be doing it. You have to give more respect. You have to change your play style. Moon now looking for Keen here, who does not have cleanse, by the way.
Yep, looks like Gank's going to be lined up, but Moon Flash Cocoon does land in. High going to chase forward. That should be first blood. Red buff might be enough. High Flash autos forward. It's going to force out the heal.
That looked like Moon was trying to donate the first blood over to High. I think maybe underestimating how hard it was going to be to get that kill. It felt like he could have actually perhaps gone forward and continued to chase down Keen and gotten that kill himself. We'll have to watch it again to really see, though.
Yeah, Moon, did you see the splash? Keen with no summoners. Could be a vulnerability as Balls is getting real low in this 1v1. Looks like it's time for him to go home. Spend some of that money.
Gonna have to go back to base, and someday will, if he so chooses, be able to kind of stay there and actually delay his Ball's base even more. So that means he can fully shove in the wave, and then base and walk back to lane without really losing anything and saving his TP. So that is pretty nice for them.
Finding doesn't hit Turtle. Shrimp is now down to the bottom side of the map in a pretty interesting 2v2. Shrimp's going to move down towards his bottom half. Does get spotted on a ward, but looks like he's not ganking in the bottom side just yet. Looking for a few camps, but doesn't find too much.
So here's the play again, so let's see. Yeah, I definitely think he could have followed here. You follow with the repel. Oh, I think he was actually trying to maybe tank up the turret on the very edge of it, and he stepped just too far out. So either way, certainly messed up on the execution. Had he repelled in for that kill, I think they actually get it. But perhaps thought that it was secured, wanted to give that first blood over to High.
Well, instead, again, Keen is going to summoners. We'll have to see if a revisit is imminent at all.
You have to remember, though, High, he spent his flash too, right? So double flash down. It's not really that much in their advantage. Yes, in this isolated lane it is, but you're using 2 of those longer cooldown spells, and Keen is about halfway back to having that heal. So they're going to be looking for the repeat gank. Shrimp is in the area. We'll see if they can actually pull it off.
I'm not sure it's too close to level 6. They're actually pretty close, never mind. A few more creeps required. Make it 2 more, I think.
Keen is playing very intelligently to the bot side. That is where their vision is in the jungle. And Shrimp up here. Balls is very far up. He could easily get run down, but he is level 6 and somebody is not, so.
Balls getting out of there as well as another aggressive engage breaking out on the bottom side of the map. Rompik's been really nice against the Morgana as Big's trying to find these bindings, and Turtle doing a nice job getting out of the way and then still trading to make sure he doesn't just concede the lane.
Yeah, and Big just making sure that the lane was fully reset there. His AD is going to base, so he wants to stay around to harass them, and that's why they're going for these split backs and into the top lane.
Ball's actually already burned his ultimate, so does Someday, trying to keep them out of the way, but Ball's going to chase them down in towards the brushes. Someday just playing a ring around the Rosie. But now it's a flash out of the way. You're not to move, but the Cocoon point blank is good. First blood, though, goes over to Someday, and Shrimp is here for the counter kill. Keen roams up as well, and that's 2 for Dignitas.
Someday with the 1v2, he actually gets a solo kill onto Moon there, who was flashless after that mid lane gank, so they do get punished, and that was so well played. Buying all the time, getting into overheat before flashing back in and finishing off this very squishy Elise, who only on Moby boots.
Yeah, very gank happy there for Moon, going for the super early boots of mobility, and Shrimp still with ultimate. Gonna tag High, but Keen not in position to follow up, so High just gonna put the shield on and walk out of the way as our second elimination doing battle.
Lemon actually just trying to hold the wave there, so that looks pretty funny. But he's trying to save that CS for his opponent. Here is the top lane play. Layers down the equalizer, buying more time. Moon actually walking over it, taking a lot of damage there, and that is what allows Someday. He gets into overheat, flashes forward right onto Moon and takes him out. Shrimp flying in, allows them to get that second kill. And back-to-back, pretty poorly executed ganks here from Moon. Could have got first blood mid lane, did not. Then goes top. That gets messed up and donates over a kill.
Ultimate there from High as well, but just kind of chunking down Keen as High did actually get shoved back into the rocks. Shrimp here again, so still with the ultimate, looking for a good place to use it, but Dignitas going to roam down to red side.
Yeah, exactly. And this has been set up by Big because he just got vision around here, drops a pink ward, drops a couple of those regular wards as well around, so they know that they are safe to make this invade and extend that advantage. And this is the teamwork that is required to make these plays safely. Yes, Shrimp could just blind invade, but that is not really a smart play. So Big going to be able to set that up because they know that London Nation went back to base. So it's all kind of this chain of events that allows them to do these plays.
It does feel like Dignitas feeling a little bit more together here in the early stages of this game. 600 gold up is nice, despite the CS looking pretty clean across the board. Those 2 kills helping out with some additional gold over, but FlyQuest again going to be kind of in a similar spot as far as their game plan goes. Just want to make sure things go about the same as they did before, and then try and find some team fights as the mid-game rolls around. As long as they're not too far behind, things should be okay.
Yeah, certainly should be, but there is a lot of pushing power in this Dignitas squad, so they're definitely going to have to be careful if these guys get too far ahead. It certainly can start to snowball. And it's one of those things where if Wild Turtle can stay alive and be safe in the fight to really pump out the damage, then yes, FlyQuest is going to be very strong, but if this Rumble and Lee Sin get very, very strong, can just dive and take him out right off the bat, FlyQuest is probably not going to have enough damage left in the tank.
Yeah, so we'll see exactly how the rest of this game develops. Dignitas actually continuing to build a lead, up about 1,000 gold now. FlyQuest going back to spend some of their money. High returns to mid lane with a blue buff. Almost has that first item completed. Looks like Keen's going to go ahead and grab kills as well as Turtle. Just playing Farmville here in the bottom side. Really not a whole lot to do for Turtle. Just wants to make sure he gets as many minions as possible, but Moon being diligent, checking the objective. Seems like Dignitas are likely going to move for something soon, whether it's a turret, whether it's a gank, or whether it's just one of the big objectives on the map.
Well, and Shrimp kind of has all the options in the world because he's been tracking Moon with his vision. They know exactly where he is, so he's going to have the first crack at making a play, right? And sitting on a pink ward now, they even know, generally speaking, where Moon warded, so he's setting up shop here.
All right, Moon going to come back down. Shrimp doesn't get the slow down. Moon able to flash out of the way as he comes down from the rappel.
Once again, it's a little advantage, all taken from the vision control, because Moon is having to walk back into his side of the jungle without any vision. Now, another return, and he can just continue to defend this. Looking to fight heavily for it.
Wait for the cocoon.
Oh!
Really good patience there from Shrimp at High with no ultimate. Used it to burst down King before. Could be in a bit of trouble. Shov's going to miss, though. High able to use the heal and run out of the way.
Really good stuff here from Shrimp. It's such a good game to see how you can really exploit that vision, how you can take over your opponent with that support jungle synergy that they are showing. It's just so well done by them. And with the bot lane pushing, with top lane pushing, you can make these plays happen that much more easily because it's so hard for your opponents to actually respond without just giving up too many creeps.
Yeah, Dignitas finally going to convert that kill into a bit more objective pressure as Shrimp's going to comfortably solo down the mountain Drake here with the Warrior enchantment already finished. Pretty clean take, and that should help Dig in whatever their next adventure may be. Shrimp's still not done either. King going to join forces once more and force Moon off this Raptor camp.
Yeah, and he has a smite advantage. He takes that away. They even get almost all the little ones to make things go from bad to worse for Moon. The Moby Boots build is also one where it's considered much more of a snowballing type style. You have to move around the map, get these kills, really kind of keep the pressure rolling. Otherwise, you're extremely squishy. You don't really have much use in teamfight with this sort of build. Like, he has no AP, he has no tanky stats, right? So it's this investment for early success and has not paid off at all so far for Moon.
Certainly not. Again, things are looking okay, but those 2 deaths have kind of described how the early attempts from Moon have gone. Turtle continues to farm up a storm here in the bottom lane. He's got 1,800 gold casually in the bank. It looks like Altec's finally gone back. He's actually got Infinity Edge already finished. And Turtle's going to go back and probably get his first major item. So not a whole lot of action on the bottom side in the lane for Dignitas, but certainly around the jungle, they've been playing well to just continue to press their lead. And despite TS being close in almost every lane, it's the total pressure that Dignitas are getting that's really giving them the lead they currently sit on.
But you know, back to what we talked at the start of the game, FlyQuest is not super worried yet, right? They're not massively behind in gold. Yes, their jungler is falling behind, but they have kind of an easier to execute team fight composition, so they will certainly have their chances as long as their laners do stay relevant in farm, and they have done that so far. You know, Blade of the Rune King going to be finished from Turtle here to kind of match up against that Infinity Edge, and Kog'Maw does have extremely strong skilling too, although Kog'Maw's power is more windowed because it's all around your W being up.
Dignitas again, continuing to stay aggressive. Tag onto Lemonation by Shrimp. And Altec might even get first turret as well. I mean, Dignitas did have a good start to the early game last game, but up to another good one here. A few more autos required, but Altec, yeah, maybe afraid of taking turret aggro there. So gonna wait for a wave, but Moon's joining down to make it a 3v3 here in the bot lane.
Yeah, but in that 3v3, you have to feel like they could just push up, black shield your AD carry, and finish that off. So we'll see if they're going to go for it.
Yeah, room to lead down as well. There's a wall out from Keen, jumps off early. But they seem to clear the wave out. Keen trying to get some poke in, but wave is now gone. Dignitas going to have to wait even further.
Yeah, they will have to back off here, and High going to be able to clear out that pink ward, perhaps try to zone Keen a little bit, keep him away from that CS as he does come back. Looks like Someday even stole away the blue buff from the top side because he's sitting on that, so well done by him to utilize the bush advantage that he has to kind of go and get something else done.
Yeah, got a lot of early strength, just shoving in constantly. Actually 2 levels ahead of Balls. But again, despite that CS being even, Someday is quite a bit stronger as Balls does now just hit level 10.
Yeah, the experience is a bit concerning, you know, level up in jungle, level up in mid lane, level up in top side, your AD is a level up here too. Experience gives you so many free stats when you do hit those breakpoints, especially, you know, hitting the ultimate breakpoints, you know, like that level 11. It's really going to put you out of position of power.
Again, burning that ultimate just to sort of keep a Dignitas member out of the way. He's been burning it on Keen in trades and then uses it on Shrimp to dissuade him from diving. Looks like he's pretty low on mana, so Someday going to roam down and sees a pretty good opportunity to try and take this mid turret or at least pressure High away from it.
Did not check the pixel brush in the river, so it was spotted out. Will at least clear up one of these wards, but the players have to be diligent about checking this vision. You know, the deep pink ward we pointed out that Big got much earlier is still sitting in that bush below FlyQuest red buff. That's something that you need to really make sure with your pathing, you're checking all these bushes because that gives you so much free information, so much of an advantage when it stays around for this long.
Yeah, it looks like Shrimp was able to clear that all out, but High that's a little too far forward. He uses all his mana to burst down Shrimp because Lemon Nation's roaming up, but Big's behind him.
Yeah, FlyQuest trying to force a play here. We'll see if they can pull it off.
Black Shield there's great on King. Kickback from Shrimp's going to move Balls into the turret. Lemon Nation there to protect his team, but here's the TP in from Someday. Balls
High is
going to burn that ulti. Could cancel there from Someday, I think.
Someday could actually just kill the turret. That's very low. Grab first turret there, bud. But is going to base instead. That is, I think, actually pretty poor from Someday to not grab that free first turret. You know, spending the teleport, that's fine. But if you're going to cancel it, you could actually stay around and finish that off and give yourself that big injection of gold. I guess he is perhaps favoring, you know, just the fact that he can deny more CS to the turret. But you definitely want to make sure you cash in on that.
Oh, good move back in. Ignite time from Big, actually. As Kane looks for the last few threads, but Nation again putting the Unbreakable up, and I was kind of wondering exactly, you know, why is High struggling so much to wave clear? I forgot that Someday stole his blue buff.
Yeah.
So even that little steal from Someday has actually opened up a great amount of room, and as a result, Dignitas will take first turret, cracking down mid lane.
Even giving the solo gold over to Keen there, so really prioritizing him. Someday backing away to not sharing that gold. Big does the same. There's Someday even not knocking down his own turret that he could have gotten first. So really putting a lot of emphasis on this matchup, stealing away the blue, being able to get in every edge that he could possibly want.
Dignitas off to a great start now, 3,000 gold ahead after taking that turret.
And there's 2 turrets that are very easily picked up here. Top lane and bot are both extremely low. So Dignitas definitely can look to make the rotations, force those turrets down. We'll see if they can just pull that off, because if you pick up all the outers when you already have this level of kind of gold advantage, it really can start to blow wide open. I mean, you could be at a 6,000 gold lead pretty early on.
Talk a lot about kind of expected value here when turrets are up, but you can take them. Obviously, you need to actually physically take them to get the benefits, but Dignitas' lead certainly a bit bigger than the scoreline would indicate, given that they should be doing even more damage. And second Drake's going to go over to them as well. First one was a mountain, that helps with the sieges. Second one's an infernal. That's going to help with the team fights, as Altec did take the bottom outer turret. Balls is trying to answer here in the top lane, but Someday says no.
And you can see just how much control they have around the map when you can both go for an Infernal while you're sieging, while you're in the other lanes as well. Like, they're able to do a bit of everything because they have controlled vision around the area, because they've had the pushing lanes and the advantages in item completion.
And Shrimp is full-time red side jungle. Just invading FlyQuest for the last 10 minutes. Keen actually gets the red buff as he walls back down. That was very awkward.
Ooh, I think he actually knocked him off of
did.
the ultimate wall. But Wild Turtle caught out here. We'll see if he can make an outplay.
All right, he's going to try something. TP in, but Turtle's going to have to fight it out. Kick from Shrimp's going to seal that one. And Balls is here to try and get the kill back onto Shrimp. Damage is there. There's the shutdown from Balls. His Lemonation.
Too.
We're going to chase down Keen. Lemonation just hits a few more autos. Ultimate's good. Tags him on the back end, but 2 melee champs chasing a Talia? I don't think so.
Yeah, not too bad, though. They at least get the shutdown. But that being said, Tristana is already topside. They knocked down the last outer. They're going to be pressuring the inner turret here, too. Someday is shoving up mid. So High has to make the decision. Does he go top? Does he stay mid? Where does he actually look to defend? And for now, he will go top to clear that out. So back to the blue buff for Dignitas. Going to take it away from High once again.
Dig playing really well with their advantage here. Kind of know every spot they need to be in. Altec going to go ahead and get the blue buff because Leah's down the bot side. And Forge just won again. Despite the oopsie with the blast cone, Turtle had nowhere good to go.
Yeah, he's hoping to try to pull off some sort of outplay. I think he was looking to actually flash inside the minions. If he can get into the minions there, then the Lee Sin Q cannot actually follow up, and maybe he can make a miracle happen as Renekton comes in. So I think that's what he's trying for. Either way, he gets enough damage that they get that kill back. But Big gonna get caught out there, perhaps staying around a little bit too long, trying to get some of that vision.
Looks like it. High gonna get credit for that kill. Assist there from Moon. So Big, I think, warding in the wrong spot. But a minor setback for Dignitas at this point. Altec is still very far ahead as far as those early items go. Up on gold by Turtle by almost 1,000. Looks like that static shot will be up soon, so watch how this one happen. Big made the Rift Herald angry for some reason, and High was like, yeah.
Okay, they were actually just going to go for the Rift Herald. The flash is pretty silly, I think, there from Big, but Shrimp was actually coming down, so was Altec, so it looked like they wanted to actually go for the Rift Herald, and he was just starting up that leash. Proccing the damage on the back eye is actually most of how you kill off the Rift Herald, so support starting it isn't as silly as it may seem, but nice play there from High to catch him out, get a kill, and Big probably should have just held on to the flash.
Oh, there's another wall from King, gonna try and cut off Turtle. She knocks him back in towards the Morgana ulti.
Oh.
Very well played by Kane. A well-deserved kill.
That no way out for Turtle there. Didn't have the flash. Used that in the bot lane play. And really nice from Keen. Walls him off. Big able to follow up there. Able to get a pretty easy kill on a Turtle.
And now Dignitas clearing that vision around the Baron area. Now Rift Herald said goodbye. So I can kind of see why Big was in a hurry to get it started. But Dignitas again, still grouping. Gonna try and maybe knock a few more turrets down. Don't have any outer turrets left to try and contend for, so it's tier 2s only at this stage for them. But FlyQuest, have 0 turrets, so Dignitas feeling pretty comfortable in this situation, and FlyQuest have some work to do if they're gonna get themselves further back into this game. Dignitas' gold lead has grown to almost 5,000 now.
Yeah, and while it is harder and harder to kind of take out those inner turrets once the outers are down, as long as you're still controlling your opponent's jungle and kind of farming that down, and Balls looking for a solo kill here on a Someday, may have it.
Needs a few more cooldowns. Flash from Someday as the slice was barely coming back off cooldown. Will save himself there, but Balls is going to get some pressure down. Might even have a turret to take here, depending on what somebody wants to do with that TP, but another pick attempt here. Keen and Shrimp teaming up, finding Flies Wild there from Big. Looks like Dig again controlling this mid lane, and Balls is going to get some work done here on the bottom side, but Someday going to return to the lane with the Zhonya's, and no need to TP just yet. Able to walk down happily.
Yeah, he's going to have to back off there. Was a little bit nervous about perhaps a roam down from the Lee Sin or someone like that. Not going to be able to take down that turret, but still getting a nice advantage for himself, forcing out the flash and the ultimate from Someday. Maybe can get something done in that 1v1 a little bit later because of that, but it is a lot harder with the Zhonya's now completed.
You can see Balls actually building a lot of damage early. We've seen this from almost all of the Bruiser fighter type champions, but curious to see if Balls does go all the way in for a 1v1 item build with something like Blade of the Ruin King, but I think he'll probably opt more for your standard Titanic Black Cleaver. Has a Hex Drinker for his lane matchup, and then Gargoyle Stone Plate's in there at some point.
Yeah, and the Blade of the Ruin King, while it is a strong 1v1 item, to me it's more of an item that you should build against tanks because you have that percentage health damage. So really utilizing that in combination with the percentage armor shred of the Black Cleaver to really kind of destroy tanks in that 1v1. Against the Rumble, the kind of Blade of the Ruin King type item, that 1v1 focused item really is going to be the Hex Drinker, and that is a pretty greedy build if you want to say so, because even just going for that means he's going to be squishy in the team fights. Not utilizing just the Titanic Hydra plus Black Cleaver, you're certainly going to be vulnerable.
Yeah, feeling that tankiness. That was a pretty cool interaction. Elimination, though. Kicked back by Shrimp, and that looks to be a kill almost over. Talia going to try and cut him off. Keen wants it. They're not going to get it.
Not really a full commitment there from the team. You have to feel like they maybe could have picked up that kill with a summoner coming out of Altec or someone like that, but they're right onto the Baron. Just going to decide to have to turn here. You have to think
Baron is
comes in.
so low with the Infernal on the mountain. They're going to try and get in, but it's too late already. Altec actually taking it down. FlyQuest going to lose the big objective.
Really nice from Dignitas, so they decide not to chase the kill. They just use the HP advantage that they have gotten from that, go straight to the Baron. They burn it down very quickly with that Mountain and Infernal. And they are going to lose their mid lane turret, but Altec is already shoving out the side lane, soaking up that experience, soaking up that gold, and we'll have to back off now, but not going to be in a very good spot here as FlyQuest, because Tristan is such a strong sieger that they could definitely be looking to take out some of these inner turrets.
Nice dodge there from Altec. Gets out from under Elimination's Q. And looks like with 2,000 gold to spend, Altec's going to go ahead and do some shopping. Rapid Fire Cannon should be on the way very soon, and like we said already, Balls has delayed his tankiness by going for that additional 1v1 lane-focused item. So Stun is going to be hurting everyone once his 3 items are completed, and Shrimp is just casually soloing the Cloud Drake.
Yeah, there's
Nice
just
and peaceful.
no real armor on FlyQuest whatsoever. Yeah, there's cavies on Balls, there's pieces of a Deadman's on Moon, but very soon Tristana is going to be 3 items. When she bases, she will be. And she's going to be shredding everyone.
Yeah, shredding turrets too.
Oh, nice Sonya.
Great Zhonya's there from Someday. Black Shield's going to escort him out. Altec is still not shot, by the way, so Dignitas getting maximum Baron duration instead.
And he's 300 gold away from a full item completion, so he wants to get a turret. He wants to have that gold to buy up the full rapid fire. So they're pressuring down these mid lane and the bot lane. If he can just knock down 1 turret, he will have that buy he wants, and then he can start to look to fight, and they should be able to get it on this wave.
Yep, Altec a few more shots, and there it is. Shrimp looking for the play, but doesn't quite get behind FlyQuest. High actually burnt his flash, so able to keep himself safe, but he won't have it next time.
Yep, and now he'll go right back to base. He will have that massive power spike. They're all going to go back at the same time, synchronizing those buys, playing around the fact that Altec wanted to stay on the map and get that. Very smart, but Someday...
Overstay, by the looks of things, Moon able to get that execute.
Yeah, Someday, the one guy who kind of didn't really synchronize his base with the rest of the team, does go down, but still Dignitas in a very good spot. Huge gold advantage. 80 carry certainly in a very powerful spot here too, and just gonna get run down. Doesn't have flash, doesn't have Zhonya's, no real chance for him to get out of the position he put himself in.
Yep, I get low from the equalizer actually, but not enough to take him down. And like you said, just a minor setback there for Dig. Silly of Someday to be in that spot, but not going to cost Dignitas too much here. They've kind of done all they really wanted to do, and still with 50 seconds left of Baron, Altec able to get a 5th turret now for Dignitas.
Yeah, it's very nice. I mean, getting that 1 kill may mean that Dignitas cannot push top the turret as well, so that may have defended 1 for them, but they're still definitely very, very down, and it's going to be hard. When you are this far down, they need to delay, they need to get Pi and Turtle to this super strong point, and I honestly feel like at this point on Balls, he should just be bailing out of a Titanic Hydra and just going pure tank. Like, you're too far behind, I think, as a team, not even just individually, but as a team to really have that matter. It's obviously a matter of opinion.
Yep, again, everything just delayed hit for FlyQuest. That's kind of the easy way to look at it. If nothing else, 3 items on the way, but still not there for High and Turtle. Balls needs to be tankier. Moon is very far behind as far as total items go. I mean, FlyQuest are down a lot of gold at this point.
Yeah, and the problem with building damage this late in the game against this Tristana is going to siege. They have very easy siege with this composition. You Black Shield up this long-range AD carry who has 3 items, and who is going to be able to stand up to the Tristana in the team fight? Like, your only real hope if you're just going to build pure damage is bursting this guy out almost immediately. They need to find that initiation, but Morgana very good at shutting that down, so we'll see if they can ever really have an answer for Altec.
Well, Altec working on that last tier 2 turret. A few more shots needed. There's that Black Shield you mentioned, and easy as you like there for Dignitas.
And even if Turtle gets very strong, if his front line is just getting absolutely shredded, he's not going to have the time he needs to kind of work through this composition that Dignitas has, because this is essentially 5 kind of damage dealers on Dignitas. They have no tank. They're all about that threat, and it means that Wild Turtle is going to need a lot of time, a lot of safety to move forward and kind of take them all down.
And that was the thing where we saw Dignitas. Yes, there was a vulnerability there, perhaps, having no real front line, but that required them to get behind or stay even, and they've gotten very far ahead, kind of snowballing this game from the early laning phase, and now Altec with a QSS going to feel even safer. Dignitas approaching about 8,000 gold lead, and with another Infernal Drake on the way as that final one of this game. Feeling pretty good for Dig as they move towards the late game.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, they can set up full vision control around that in advance, look to really force the issue there. We'll see if FlyQuest can get any picks. That's going to be a big way for them to delay and kind of get back into this game, because they will have a very good 5v5 on even terms, but Dignitas is just so far ahead right now, and these full damage compositions are really good from ahead, because your front line just does not actually live long enough for it to really be relevant whatsoever.
Yep, when you're playing catch-up the whole time, feels pretty tough for the enemy team.
Even just as far as itemization, it's like, what do you build? Well, I want to be able to 1v1, so I'm going to build the Titanic Hydra, but Keen is already on a Void Staff, so building MR isn't going to be feeling that great there, and you need all this armor to deal with this massive Tristana. It's like, there's so many threats, and it pulls you in all these different ways, and people often end up in a position where you cannot keep up your defensive itemization with the pacing that is being pushed out here from the other team.
No, and as soon as it happens for a tank, you feel, or a frontline champion, you feel close to useless.
Yeah, I mean, even if you get like a Randuin's to deal with Altec, well, you're going to get absolutely shredded by both the AP threats. Top laner and the mid laner already have 3 items with the Void Staff, and they're going to absolutely blast balls, whose only MR is the extra.
Well, FlyQuest getting their Void Stuff for High, and that looks like a Rage Blade on the way for Mr. Turtle.
And that 3rd item will be a big one. The Rage Blade is a huge power spike for Turtle. And if he can get that free time to really get those shots out, he will be able to kill these guys off very fast.
Needs a lot of free time, though.
Yeah, he definitely, and it's about the safety too, right? Like, if he has a few seconds where he's not CC'd and he's free firing on one of these people, he will kill them. But will he get that time? Will he be able to actually have the space to utilize his damage? That's the biggest question. Can they feel well enough for him? And can he feel safe enough to move forward and deal that damage?
Tough to win a TPS race versus this many threats. Dignitas lining up 5v5 in the mid lane. 2 major buffs about to spawn together. Infernal Drake up soon. Baron up now, actually. Dignitas gonna threaten this one first. King gonna cut him off. Dig might just start it. They are. Really good wall from King. Moon gets over though. Oh, he actually got to a plant, I think. And that was open. Oh, the kick kicks him back out of it in midair, and a great bounce secure for Dignitas.
All right, that was stylish from Shrimp. Sword hops right out, kicks Moon away, and then cues back to execute that Baron. So well done there by Shrimp and Keen, zoning them out and then making sure that's a guaranteed Baron. Now they're going to move over here, try to secure this Infernal, and Lemon is caught out, likely will be chased down. And then they're going to go right for that dragon.
Ooh, ulti in range, going to force Lemonation's flash. Someday also has Equalizer, but not sure wants to commit it for just to support. Lemonation is leading them on a grand adventure.
This might not be really worth chasing the Braum for this long.
I don't think so.
You want that Infernal Dragon, so.
It's like, all right, yeah, Shrimp's still going. Dignitas, all right, they did get the Infernal, or it looks like they will. With Shrimp not needed, FlyQuest not able to be out on the map as Lemonation. Oh no.
Turtle's almost here. They can actually turn this around, perhaps.
Oh, Lemon!
No, Turtle doesn't feel confident to actually move up into that play. I mean, Shrimp did still have his ultimate, so that is one thing that you really have to be wary of there. but Equalizer did go down. And here's the play. The team blocked out. Look at that. Kicks him out of the blast cone. The Q is already on the Baron. So just takes the second half of the Q. Q smite, finishes off the Baron. That was so smooth from Shrimp, and really, really well done. Kind of reminiscent of Karsa and some of the plays that he was making at MSI, especially when they were winning against SKT. His Baron Skiers were immaculate, and that's what we kind of saw there from Shrimp.
Always fun to see top-level Lee Sin players do stuff. And that was no exception there for Shrimp, as Dignitas back on the O. Baron buff up for 2 minutes longer, and Altek just finishes 4th damage item. So turrets are going to do real fast here. Altek even tanks a turret shot or two just for funsies.
Yeah, at this point, you're kind of praying for like a miracle shockwave or something. But FlyQuest have not really even felt comfortable attempting to have the fight, and they're just getting bled out from all sides. It gets very difficult when you're being corralled against a siege composition like this, because Dignitas are playing it smart, and we'll see if they find the opportunity to look for a play.
Altek does get chunked, but just going to move back in and behind the safety of his team. Somebody getting aggressed on, but the Black Shield there is going to, again, thwart any attempt at offense there for FlyQuest.
And that was a flash cocoon, it looks like, I think, from Moon. That does get immune, so a nice Black Shield there coming out from Big. Able to keep him safe, and they're closing in on both sides, utilizing the Baron buff very well, not risking anything, just chunking away at this turret.
And Altek, yeah, staying very...
Oh, TP coming in from balls. They're going to look for the fight now. This is the play they're trying to make.
This is about all they can do. We'll see what FlyQuest gets done here. Someday first caught out. He's going to go down before the Zonic pops. That shouldn't get tagged by the end of the Glacial Fissure. Altek, they're still threatening its highs, keeping them out of the way. Shrimp dashing back towards Keen. He's going to regroup with the rest of Dignitas. Just one kill there for FlyQuest, and they committed a lot for it.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like enough. I mean, it's good that they got the one kill. May buy them a little bit of time here, but such a big minion wave crashing in from Dig. They already knocked down the top inhibitor. They're looking for this middle one, and Altec is the main threat.
Shrimp stunned.
Turtle going forward.
Oh no, Keen chunks him completely out there. Shockwave does that onto Big, but Big lock it there is going to maybe keep them all safe. Good wall from Keen.
Oh, Altec can just go forward now.
Now again, FlyQuest don't really have anything else to do. Altek gets exhausted. He's going to miss though. He's just going to keep running for it. Strip. Able to get Turtle. Moon's going to go down to Altek, and there's the reset he needs. Another kill there to Lemon, gets him yet another jump and high. He's going to get chased down by Keen. Altek not even needed. There's the ace, and that'll be game for Dignitas.
A really nice one here from Dignitas, in control pretty much the whole time. Very well played. Utilizing their advantage, they get the ace. They will send us to game number 3.
There we go. Finally got it at the end. Balls did live for a little while longer, but wasn't really needed. And Dignitas able to knock down the turrets and take the Nexus and bring this one to a 3rd and final game.
2 Tristana games come out, 2 Tristana victories. Both players looking really solid on the pick. This one, to me, was a lot about the jungle, though. I thought that Shrimp did such a good job, getting things done, especially the early control that Big and Shrimp were able to establish in Moon's jungle, getting so much vision down, really taking control of that area and taking away so many camps, stealing away so many buffs. I felt that that was what really allowed them the time to kind of move ahead and take control of the game.
I think so, and in general, this kind of felt like a lot of what we've seen from Dignitas, solid early game, using again their strong jungler, their strong laners to get an advantage, and then intelligently snowballing. This is a team to me that when they're ahead, seem to play the map very, very well.
And it's kind of interesting because there is this discussion about, someday on split pushers versus someday on more team fighters and team-oriented picks. And once again, we see him perform very well on Jackson game 1, but it does not work out. It feels like when someday can join the team, when he can make things happen for the team and kind of play more around that, Dignitas has been looking better in recent weeks, despite the fact that he plays very well individually on the picks. It doesn't feel like the team is often successful with split push.
Maybe just not there yet, but for a deeper dive on how Dig tied that series, let's hand it off to Dash and Mark.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Dignitas getting the victory here, bringing us to 1-1 on the series, pushing us to a game 3. And I want to jump immediately onto what Azael was talking about with Someday in the top lane, because he does have these standout carry performances, or even individual performances on carries, I should say, in losses. Whereas when you transition to the team fighters, Dignitas as a whole seems to find more success.
It feels like whenever he's on those kind of split push hyper carries, they almost tunnel on being like, we have to get Someday ahead. He's our win condition.
Right.
And he's a good enough player that you can kind of let him get his own leads and help him out when he needs it.
Right.
But when he's on things like a Rumble or a Gragas, it feels like they play the map much more about what should be done versus like focus on getting someday ahead. And this time around, they drafted a very standard team fight, team comp for the most part.
Absolutely.
And I like, especially against FlyQuest, a team who's not known for their mid to late game, don't all in on this 1-3-1 comp where, we saw in game 1 where if you lose that mid game and the game ends up even 30 minutes in, you probably lose.
Right.
This time around, you can compete the entire game.
Absolutely. Being able to stack up in that 5v5 was big. And we talk about, someday on carries versus someday on tanks. Now that or team fighters, that doesn't mean that when he's on team fighters, you don't pay attention to his lane, because that's exactly what happened 6 minutes into the game. Dignitas gets a 2-4-0 in the top lane. Great outplay by Sunday here on the engage, living in the 2v1 until Shrimp shows up.
Really intelligent the way he plays it. He doesn't really ult for damage there. He ults to stop them from getting onto him, so they have to run through it. And either they don't do any damage to him and he waits for his team to collapse, or they do run through it like what Moon did. He gets melted down, and then he's actually able to pick that kill up before Lee Sin really even gets involved in the fight. Overall, so smart, and then he buys time, kites out the Renekton, and just that equalizer, it might look a little weird at first, but when you realize he's forcing them to cross over it to get onto him, it buys so much time and also does a lot of damage when they do make that decision to make the move onto him.
Great collapse out of Shrimp, as well as Keen there at the end of the replay. You see him beating Orianna to the side lane, and so great responses from Dignitas there to help Someday out in that top lane, get the early advantages, and then you can see there, that's just the beginnings of what is a beautiful looking gold graph for Dignitas pushing forward. But with this squad, it's kind of a peculiar thing where they got that Baron in a very funky fashion where they kind of, they took elimination down to like 10%. And then just forced the Baron. And it does seem to some degree that Dignitas is still very Baron reliant in order to win their games.
Yeah, and it's especially Barons that are not like super well set up and then they turn off and it's very clean. That one, to be fair, was a decent turn. They chunked out Lemon. But the second time around, the 30-minute Baron, once again, they do it in front of all 5 people. FlyQuest is completely alive. They force the situation. They get a Baron. Good on Shrimp being able to secure them, but it's not as clean as you see in some of the other top teams like an Immortals, TSM, or CLG, C9, where they'll turn off and kill people before going back, or they will just get so much vision control they sit there and you walk into them. They're not even on the Baron. It feels like Dig is always on the Baron, always trying to melt it down and forcing these 50-50s that, for the most part this season have worked out for them, but it gets scary a little bit.
Absolutely. Player of the game going to go to Shrimp, though, this time around for that early jungle pathing. Make sure that he does aid the laners that need help, although his scoreline 4-2 and 4. I mean, first of all, it wasn't even a very bloody game, so none of the scorelines looked incredible. There were some deathless members on Dig, but it was that early action from Shrimp that let them have those leads to close out the game.
It was, I think, 5 kills at 30 minutes when they got their second Baron of the game and you only killed 5 people. Both times the Barons went down without anyone dead. That puts a little bit of pressure on your jungler. Make sure that that's going to be a secured smite. So good job on him getting those. And like you said, that early skirmish in the top side is really kind of what broke this game open for Dignitas.
What else do you want to talk about here, though, on Dignitas? Because it is kind of a peculiar thing where they're sitting at that 5-3, still very much at the top half of the standings, and yet we're sitting here going, it feels like they can only win with the Baron. Right? They can't win when they put their top lane carry on carries, who is, in a lot of people's books, the #1 top laner in the league. Why is it that they only win in one fashion?
It is very surprising because even if you look at game 1, Keen on LeBlanc was having a great game. We were getting ready to hand him player of the game.
That's a really good point. Yeah, I actually kind of forgot about that we were both looking, we're going, oh my goodness, like someday here you go, he's playing well with the Jax, but Keen is stepping up. This is usually the formula that nets them a victory.
And this is something that it feels like they just can't win when Keen is the primary carry. We saw last split, he had some like 9-0 Azir game. They end up losing that one as well.
Right.
And so whether it's due to his inconsistency in late game, which is something that you were critical of both this team's other carries in when they had Laud as the starter, as well as Keen, it just felt like if it wasn't Someday in a position to carry, that's why they were really inconsistent. And that's why it feels like when, Someday is on a carry, they all in on him and kind of overforce around him.
Now, on the flip side, FlyQuest here taking the loss in game 2. What would you like to see out of them in game 3? Because once again, they built a pretty standard composition here. You got plenty of damage threats, but a solid front line, and it speaks to what you would imagine would be a very FlyQuest-centric comp, but it didn't work out.
It feels like they're in free fall a little bit, where if they go all in on the early game, they don't skirmish quite well enough to build a big lead, and then it falls out of control, and then late game, you've all in on this early game idea.
If they go super late, they just lose out early and can't climb back.
Yeah, it's this kind of situation where there seems like there's some fundamental problems with this team, and if you want to all in and try and cheese out, a victory, I know you hate that term, cheese out, but all in on an early game strategy, you know, that might be a little bit more successful right now, just if you can actually get a big lead and really snowball it hard. But it does feel like they're up against the wall, because in the first game they won because they had the better team fighting team and Dig stalled out.
Right, exactly. So maybe this next game will rely heavily on champion select and which strategies both teams reach for. Team Dignitas have brought this series to a game 3, so meet us back here after the break to see who takes it, FlyQuest or Dignitas. We'll see you soon.
And now it's a flash out of the way. You're not to move at the Cocoon point. Blake is good. First blood, though. Goes over to Sunday, and Troop is here for the counter kill. Keen roams up as well, and that's 2 for Dignitas. Total actually knocks him back in towards the Morgana ulti. Very well played by Keen. Moon's going to go down to Arctic, and there's the reset he needs. Another kill there to Lemon, gets him yet another jump and high. He's going to get chased down by Keen. Arctic not even needed. There's the ace, and that'll be game for Dignitas.